Welcome everyone to the Authentic as Fuck podcast. My name is Sun. In this podcast, we talk through an idea and we try to see if we can turn it into a carousel, like an Instagram carousel or some sort of a myth-truth sandwich content. This is part 2, continuation from last week's episode. So, Yelena, tell us your new myth-truth sandwich.
Okay, well, I will suggest a topic that we can discuss a little bit, and to see what will come out of that, and then to come to the myth-truth sandwich. So,
Okay.
topic that I have is that I see so many. So, what are your thoughts on affirmations? And there is a lot of be gentle to yourself, and I don't know, accept yourself.
But that's not affirmation, right? That's different than...
I mean, affirmations are like, you say to yourself, I'm nice, I'm beautiful, I deserve
No, it's
things,
not.
I'm lovable.
It's
No?
not always
what,
like
what
that.
are
I feel like
what are
affirmation, I mean, to me, I don't know. But when I hear affirmation, I think of more like the law of attraction, like The Secret,
okay.
like manifesting, like, oh, I am rich. I am smart. Like affirmation is, the way I hear affirmation is like people do that. They say what you believe is what you attract, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you have an abundance mindset and people make this vision, I don't know if you've seen those kind of YouTube videos where people make vision boards of this mansion
Yeah.
and this like Lamborghini, and then he's like, oh, and that was 2 years ago, or that was 5 years ago, and the other day I was looking at it, and the house that I bought that I'm living in now was actually the same house from that picture. Oh my gosh! And then Jim Carrey. You know how Jim Carrey said he wrote himself a check for $10 million and he dated it for 10 years. And then right after he did The Mask, like that movie, like,
Mm-hmm.
he made $10 million from that movie. So he's like, oh my gosh, my affirmation came true. Like, do you understand what I mean? Like, that's what I think of when I hear affirmation.
Jim Carrey, and he thought that this was law of attraction.
Yeah, like Jim Carrey is all into that shit. You didn't know that?
Really?
Yeah. You never heard that story where Jim Carrey said when he was broke, when he first started acting, he wrote himself a check for $10 million and he dated it for 10 years later or something like that. And 10 years later, he just got a contract for a new movie for $10 million.
He's still all about law of attraction.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, a lot of actors are. A lot of those Hollywood woo-woo people are. Like Gwyneth Paltrow and Goop is like the biggest scam. Like,
do you think they really believe it?
So which one are you talking about? Affirmation in terms of like you attracting what you believe, or more be like being kind to yourself and
being kind.
Okay.
So what I see is there is so much said.
I don't know a lot about it, so I'll listen to you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I think that there's so much about you should be kind to yourself. You should love yourself.
Yeah, I hear people say that a lot. Yeah.
But something there is not clicking, because it's not like you don't know that you should do that, but somehow, even if you know that you should do that and you should accept yourself, you're not doing that. So what I think it is happening there is that we want to accept, I don't know, let's have mm, you are beautiful the way you are. So imagine a person thinking
Oh
that
yeah.
they are ugly. So they look at a mirror and they should actually see something that they don't see.
Like people who have
So,
anorexia.
for example, but but I
That's like
wouldn't
a probably
use,
extreme.
yeah, I wouldn't use that example because it's multiple things are there
Okay.
involved, because you have like literally like body dysmorphia many times. Like even though people are looking at certain way, they don't see themselves, but this is another issue. But let's say just that the person see themselves as ugly and they should accept themselves, so they kind of try to do it, but they don't they don't
Yeah.
accept it. This is a
I see. I hear people say that all the time. There are certain narratives that I hear on social media from like people like
Mhm.
Gabby. That they're. I'm just gonna say this. These are mostly like female influencers that are doing this. I don't. I don't. I rarely ever. I don't know if ever. I see like a male influencer that says like be kind to yourself. I guess they do, but I never understood what they mean by that. And the reason why is because like there are certain things people talk about perfectionism and all of those things that I agree with, right? Law of attraction, like the affirmation stuff. Like yeah, I get what they mean. So there are certain things that I might not buy into, but I understand what they mean. But this, just
Mhm.
be kind to yourself, love yourself, and those kind of things, I never really fully understood it because I've never hated myself. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe I didn't like love myself, like I'm awesome, but at the same time, I've never hated myself. So
Yeah, I guess um okay, good for you. So for women,
good for you, son. What, you want a trophy?
women have many obstacles on their way to accept themselves,
Hmm.
because we are objectified for our, in terms of how we look. So you cannot imagine to how many details women's brain go when they see their body. So literally, one person said that they have like this bone fat. So this bone, I've never ever looked at this bone and
Hmm.
evaluate like how long or large this part is, but because we are so many times compared to how we look, and we hear how we should look, we see people that are looking way better than we can ever look. So many insecurities come from that comparison. And then, we connect our worthiness to how we look. This is where things get messed up. So
Okay.
so in that terms, when when they say be kind, it means more like, your bone is fine, it's your bone, it's your face, it's your body. So be kind to your body, because it helps you do many things. And so this is what they think.
Maybe for
I
guys, it's like that with height. Like, because some guys are,
Mhm.
some men are insecure about their height.
Yeah, yeah, this is true. When they interview
Like
girls,
Napoleon
like,
syndrome, like Napoleon
i
complex. You ever heard of that?
I think I did, but
Like, you know, a lot of
now,
like dictators in the past have been short men because like they have like this, you know, Napoleon like complex, so they feel like they have to make up for it.
yeah, yeah. um so so when, I don't know, they interview girls and they say, what's your type, and the first thing they say to be this much tall.
Mm.
So this is
Yeah,
how
they say
you know.
there was a study with
Context.
done with they surveyed 1,000 women, and they asked them like, what's something that is a deal breaker for you, like that, like these things, it's a deal breaker. I'll never date anyone like that. And out of 1,000
Mhm.
people, 998 of them said, I won't date a guy that's shorter than me, and I won't date a guy whose career is like less than me.
1998.
Basically, yeah, like 99.8% of people.
Percent. Okay. Wow. um
I mean, it makes sense.
so
Like if you ask any girl, like they're like one of the first things they say is like, "Oh, I like tall guys,"
yeah,
and that's probably
yeah,
where that complex comes from for guys.
yeah. So this is where somebody can say for guys, be kind to yourself if you are
Mm,
short. So for example, um, the thing is, so this is what they mean.
okay.
But um, but for some reason, even though we want this to work, but you know, we don't believe in that. If we say, I don't know, my body is good the way it looks, I would say, yeah, fine. But if I know that if I can, I don't know, do this or that, or if I didn't eat that last night, and if I didn't have blah, 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 if I had more exercise in the last 3 months, I would look differently. So there is this narrative that I want to
But
accept,
let's
but actually I'm not.
okay. Before we go there, let's go back up a little bit. I think first we need to
Okay.
define what they mean by be kind to yourself. So if they say, um, okay, let's say I'm not being kind to myself. Let's say I'm
Hmm.
really ugly and I'm not being kind to myself. What does that look like? Versus if I am like, what's the difference? If I'm being kind here, I'm being kind to myself. Here, I'm not being kind to myself. How would I act differently? What does that look like? What's the difference? Because I don't even know
Okay.
what that means by
I
when people say be kind to yourself. Okay, I'm kind to myself. Now what? Like I don't know what that means. Do you know what I mean?
mhm. um so I will try
Hmm.
to give my meaning to this. So be kind means to, so if a person is not kind, they would look at themselves in the mirror, for example, and they would see everything that is not fine, like every, I don't know, the hair, so they would focus their attention to what's wrong with me. then they would feel miserable about themselves generally because they have these thoughts constantly. Then they interact with other people in a way that they assume other people
Okay.
would
So they're
see
insecure. Their
their
insecurity shows
definitely.
up, shows
Yes.
outward. Yeah.
Yes.
And then it's a cycle.
So
From there on, it's a cycle.
yeah.
Remember, I told you about that experiment they did where they put a fake scar on somebody's face, and
Okay.
then they told them like, this is a social experiment. You're going to go into a job interview, but you know that you have a scar on your face, right? Like, but then right before they go into the interview, they'll be like, oh, let me touch that up, and then they'll remove the scar. So they actually don't have any scar on their face, but then they think that they have a scar on their face, right? And then they show like to the job, and then they ask the interviewer like, and it turns out
Mm-hmm.
that people who thought that they have a scar on their face was a lot more insecure, and they weren't confident, and and
Yeah.
then from there it's
This
a
is
cycle, right? If you're like that, like, if it's the same, right? If I'm talking to a, like, it's the same in dating, right? If I'm talking to a girl and I'm insecure, like, she can tell that, so I become less attractive, then she's gonna express that, and then now I'm even more insecure, and then it's like a cycle. Whereas if I'm confident, like, they're gonna be more attracted to you, and that makes you more confident. And it's, do you understand what I
yeah.
mean? It's like both ways. It's like a
Yeah.
cycle.
Exactly. So it is like having that scar. So for somebody it can be their look, for somebody how smart they are, for somebody how funny they are.
Yeah,
So whatever.
I know what you mean. Like, I have a scar on my arm. I don't know if you've seen it.
I mean, it's blurry.
Oh.
I
But
can
I have a
only see
scar on my
glimpses of.
arm, like a big scar. And I got this scar
Okay.
when I was 11. I had a big surgery. And for a year, I never wore a short sleeve shirt for 1 year.
Yeah, that's a lot. So how did you feel about that scar?
I guess insecure. I was not being kind to myself.
Yeah, you were trying to hide some
Yeah.
weak parts,
Yeah.
uncomfortable parts. So so this is it. But imagine that somebody, for example, in that experiment, said like, okay, so you have a scar. This is your weak point, and you're probably going to be insecure. So, but this is you. So you can hate it as much as you want. This is you, and
Mm-hmm.
they hate that scar. Like, I'm so ugly with this scar,
Mm-hmm.
but this is me, and they stay with that and say, okay, let's see what's next. So what do you want to do next? You have these job interviews. This is for your job, and you want that job. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you can focus on your scar, and you can slowly try to focus on different things and actually live with your scar and fight for your opportunities. So the point is that, if you have some time where you can actually live with the fact that you don't like something about yourself and survive that, that's the way to actually really be kind. And then when you hear like, oh, I should be kind to myself, you really mean like, I should be kind to myself. Like, yeah, this is me. Today I don't like myself, but this is me. And I accept what it is, whatever it is. So this is the point, that unless you accept your mixed feelings about yourself, you cannot really do anything nice for yourself.
Okay. What do you think people think it means?
Be kind to yourself.
Yeah. Like, what's the myth versus the truth? Like, what do you think people think when they hear "be kind to yourself"?
Hmm.
What do you think people think that means versus what does it really mean? Or was there a myth truth sandwich there?
I think that, yeah, there is. I think I think that they don't. I think that they know what this means theoretically, but they don't know what to do with that. So the myth is that we hear that we should be gentle to ourselves. So we try to say gentle words like, I don't know,
Oh,
it's
so
okay
that's
to
why
make
they do the
mistakes. Nobody's.
affirmation. Like
Yes,
that's why I'm like, oh, I'm beautiful. I'm confident.
exactly.
I'm smart.
Yeah, the first thing when you get up, you say, "I'm smart, I'm beautiful, I'm sexy." So you put those affirmations there. So how to be
I
kind to
don't think that does
yourself.
shit with your to your confidence.
Exactly. But if you ask Exactly, but if you ask many people
Mhm.
online, they are advocating for this. And I think this even puts us in a so much more miserable place, because then you do something and there's no result. And then who are you going to blame? Yourself.
Yeah.
You cannot even do the affirmation.
So what's the? Yeah. Now I'm trying to think of a universal truth example. Like here's one. Let's say, um, let's say you've never driven a car before, not
Hmm.
once, right?
Okay.
Like, and you keep telling yourself like, I'm a good driver. I'm a good driver. I'm a good driver. I'm a good driver. And then you get in the car and you start driving. Are you going to be all of a sudden a good driver? No. The only thing that's going to make you feel that you're a good driver is when you actually drive and you.
Mm,
Maybe that's not good. I don't know. Yeah, I guess I'm trying to think of a universal truth
okay.
example.
Okay. Mm,
I mean, I can't think of any other than the survivorship bias. Like most people who does those affirmations are actually not confident. The only thing that I think gives confidence is the validation. Like
what do you
like
mean?
you need to see evidence of the truth, right? Like I actually have to drive and then I have to keep driving and then I don't get into an accident for 10 years. And then people are like, "Oh, son, you're such a good driver." That's the thing that's going to make me believe that I'm a good driver, right? If if I keep getting into an accident every other day, you can stare
Hmm.
at yourself saying, "I'm a good driver. I'm a good driver. I'm a good driver. I'm a good driver." That's none of those affirmations can actually make you believe that you're a good driver if you keep getting into an accident. Do you understand what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah.
Like
Um,
with my scar, the only way I got over it is when like I had to realize that nobody gives a shit. Nobody makes fun of me. Nobody's like, "Oh, you got a scar." No, like not a single human being has ever. Like, if anything, they're like, "Oh, it's so cool" or something like that. So over time, once I realized nobody gives a shit, that's when I stopped giving a shit. Like that's when it gave me the confidence to wear a short sleeve shirt. Like it was.
okay. So imagine you never driven a car before,
Mhm.
and you keep telling yourself, I mean, this is maybe not working out, but um, the thing is,
Like here's the thing, right? If you say, "Oh, I'm beautiful, I'm beautiful, every morning, oh, I'm beautiful, I'm beautiful," and then you go on Tinder and you just literally everyone rejects you. Like every day you're getting rejected all day long. You're
mhm,
still not going to be confident. You're still not going to believe that you're beautiful. Do you understand what I mean?
yeah,
So it's, but that's what I mean. But let's say you think you're not pretty, but then and you don't do any affirmation. But let's say like you keep getting matched on 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 dating apps. Like everybody's like matching with you, and everybody keeps telling you, "Oh, you're so pretty, you're so pretty, you're so pretty, you're so pretty." Like over time, you're gonna be like you're gonna become more confident. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but this means that you need the external validation for you to, in the first place,
Well,
for
I
you
see
to
what you mean.
accept yourself,
I guess
which
what you
is
need to
also
do is
good.
maybe you need to realize that your worth doesn't come from how pretty you are or something like that. You know what I mean?
So imagine you have a car and you need to, but your car is ugly,
Hmm.
and
And you need to be okay with that. That
you
doesn't
don't, you
mean
don't like
you're
your
bad.
car.
Yeah.
It's ugly. You hate it, so you can keep saying that your car is beautiful, but actually you will not believe it because it's ugly. The only thing that you can do is to deal with what you have and drive yourself from place to place and
Yeah.
gradually accept,
That
what you
doesn't
have.
your car is not define you.
Exactly.
Your car doesn't define who you are as a person or something like that. And
So,
your looks doesn't define who you are as a person. Maybe your height doesn't define who you are as a person. Yeah, you know what I mean.
and yeah.
Maybe that's
So,
the more right message, rather than keep lying to
by
yourself,
the
saying
way,
I'm beautiful, I'm beautiful.
by the way, my first car was to me very ugly,
Hmm.
but this was the one that I could afford.
Hmm.
And I was like, it's so ugly, but it is what it is. So once I started
But you didn't
driving
care.
it, I cared. I mean,
You did.
it was ugly. Before I assumed that this was going to be my car. This was the car that I would say, oh, this one is ugly. I wouldn't take this one. But but when this car showed up as a fine opportunity for me, I was like, it is what it is. So let's do it. And eventually, literally, what happened is I was driving and connecting to my car, and I was
Now
cleaning
you love your
it.
car.
Yeah, and then I was like, this is my car. But it didn't happen overnight. I needed
Hmm.
to put some effort into like building my relationship. So,
Maybe it's different,
um,
like when it's your possession versus you. Do you know what I mean? Do you think that people can
I
do that
mean,
about themselves? I actually think those things are also related, right? Like people who really love themselves would take care of themselves, right? Just like you take care of your car, you
exactly,
wash it, keep it clean, change the
exactly.
oil, things like that. Like that's how you take care of something you love. So if you really loved yourself, you would take care of yourself, right? Like you.
I think so. I mean, definitely, it's not like literally in every example. Some people just don't care about cars, but the thing is, we also need to take care of ourselves. So if we criticize ourselves too much, then it's so hard to take care about how we feel and how we go through the day if we torture ourselves.
Hmm.
So in that matter, I I think this is a good example, good metaphor that people would understand.
It's
Because
okay. I mean, like maybe I'm just not the right audience for it.
do you have something better?
I mean, the way I, from my own experience, what I would say is when you walk into a room and you feel insecure because of whatever your insecurity may be, right? Yeah, for me, the only way to fix that is through through evidence. Like, you know, like people used to, when I would go into a meeting and then I people used to dismiss me, right? Like, this Asian kid, like, is just like something to dismiss, right? It's like, you know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
it's not important. Like, he's not important or whatever. And I would, like, I go into a meeting, I don't say anything. I just, that insecure, like, it's almost like confirmation that, and you become more insecure, more quiet, more like, oh, I'm a no, I'm just nobody. I'm just sitting here, blah blah blah, right? Um, or I don't know anything. Who am I to speak up? Like, who am I to
Hmm.
say this, right? But then the only way to get over that is you have to keep doing it, and then and then get better at it, and you get uh, confirmation that, you know, and that's the only way for me, I can be confident. So what I would
Well,
say is, but I think what you're talking about is different because a lot of
yes.
women, even though people around them are, like telling them that they're pretty, they're beautiful, they still feel insecure.
Hmm.
Is that what you're talking about, or are you talking about like?
Yeah. I mean, whatever, no matter what is validation from the outside, this can be helpful or can not be helpful. I mean, imagine a beautiful girl that is only validated for their look, but never for how smart they are.
Yeah, but then
So
they're
they
not
could see.
insecure about their looks.
Yeah, but the
I actually
thing
see
is,
the
are they,
opposite problem right now with
well,
majority of, um like, especially like the younger girls. I actually think the opposite. Like, I actually think that everybody thinks that maybe there's these YouTube videos where people will go up to girls and say, "Hey, how would you rate yourself 1 through 10?" And like everyone says, "Oh,
Mhm.
I'm a 10." Do you know what I mean? And they're like so fucking ugly. Like, do you know what I mean? And I think it's like the society have brainwashed all these people to be like, "Oh, you gotta love yourself," like, and
Mhm.
you like you're beautiful. Like, everyone's beautiful. Everyone's beautiful in their own way. So I think, like, I think a lot of like these girls are delusional.
Yeah, it means that
I
there's
like I've when I watch those YouTube videos, at best they rate themselves accurately, but
Mhm.
most of the time they rate themselves way higher than they really are.
Okay, well that's the culture, fake it till you make it, or something.
So you
I
think
don't
that
know.
they
Well,
don't actually believe that they believe that they're a 10?
I mean, this is
Like
a
the
special situation. I mean, when
like
you're,
the
who would
funniest one
say
is
I'm
like,
two? Who would say I'm two? Who would say? Nobody wants to
Well,
be two.
nobody's asking you. Maybe they should say, "Oh, I'm a 5." I mean, 5 is average, right?
Yeah.
But every like even seen one where they're like, "Okay, how would you rate yourself 1 through 10, but not, but you can't choose 7?" Because I think what that person realizes, everybody rates themselves as 7, because 7 is the safe. Like it
Hmm.
means you. I'm not saying that I'm ugly, but I'm not also not saying I'm hot. Like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's
I
like the
think
modest answer. That's the
okay. Okay. So they should rate themselves in physically. Is that's
yeah,
the
yeah. And,
question?
in that question, they're asking just physically and looks,
Okay. Um.
which is like something that people care about. I think like a lot of girls do care about how they look,
I mean, I don't think this is a representative situation because
and these are young
even
girls. So by the way, so
yeah.
it's not
I
like,
mean,
oh.
even if you're two,
Mhm.
if you represent yourself realistically like you're two, it means that you don't value yourself and that you are miserable and nobody wants to be with you. This is the vibe. So
Mhm.
you need to say higher grade, um,
That's
because
true.
of
Like, it
the
looks aren't everything.
social pressure.
You're saying just like if I was to take a picture of somebody and just rate in terms of the looks, that's what you mean, right?
Yeah.
Or do you mean like with your? Because it's different. Like, I've definitely uh, met people that are super attractive, but because of their personality, like, I think they're like, they just, I hate them, and I just think that they're like so ugly, or they like, not ugly,
Yeah.
but like they're not attractive to me. But at the same time, I've also met people that are not as attractive, but because of their personality, they actually look more attractive. Do you
Yeah.
understand what I mean? So that happens, but then you can't see that in a photo. You can't see personality in a photo, right?
So the whole concept is totally like upside down because it only builds insecurities about look. So
Hmm.
I don't think this proves anything but how much actually we torture ourselves. Especially in the first place, I think women, I think, are more validated for their body. So
I guess, yeah. I don't know a lot of women like that. Like, I know one girl who's like, she's not ugly, right? She's like, you know, I mean, she's not hot, but she's not ugly either, right? She's pretty decent looking, but she's so insecure. So she doesn't come off as attractive at all. But
yeah.
to her, like, would I say, nah? But yeah, even her, see, even her, I don't think that she believes that she's ugly. Maybe she is insecure, and you know what it is? Okay, correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
Because I don't think she believes that she's ugly. I don't believe that she thinks that she doesn't deserve love, blah blah blah, blah, whatever it is. Um, it's two things, right? Because, like, if you're in New York,
Hmm.
you could be a 5. You can just be an average looking girl. Like, literally, like, you'll get hit on by a guy at least once a day. that's just that's just the truth. Like, that's how. If you live in a big city, that's just how it is, right? So even and I think that's the reason why those average looking girls think they're so hot. Like, I would, like, if I'm getting hit on once a day, I would think I'm hot too. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So So
You know,
yeah.
okay.
So I don't believe that she actually thinks that she's ugly. But I think her insecurity comes from two things. Like she got dumped by a guy. And two things,
Hmm.
she's probably comparing herself to other like perfect girls. Right? So maybe compared to that girl, yeah, I'm
Yeah, this is the
insecure.
next thing. When you say like if you're looking an average,
Hmm.
then you will you will get a guy, or you will, I don't
Yeah.
know how you
But
say.
here's the difference, right? See,
But
yeah.
according to TikTok,
Mhm.
so according, I've never been in New
Uh-huh.
York. I would love to come, but I've never been there.
Have you seen that video of a girl, this average
Hmm.
looking girl, walking around the city, and then like
Okay.
how many guys like approach her and like, er,
No.
uh, you should watch that. Like it's called like walking around NYC catcalling or something like that.
Okay. Um, but what I saw from TikTok is that like New York is place where everywhere that's full of 10. So you have 10 those girls that are looking perfectly. So
Mhm.
I'm imagining those girls in New York, and I'm imagining anybody that is not a 10, that they are, you know, not good enough. So if we are raised and
It's
we
definitely not
feel
true, right? Like if you walk around New York, not everybody's a 10. But I think what a lot of people do is they only look at them.
exactly like from, I just looked at TikTok video
Mhm.
and I had an assumption from that video, you know, so those people are coming to live there. Okay. So this is just from one video. But imagine, I'm just saying that uh, girls definitely are more prone to look for, to avoid mistakes. So we are, as good girls, we are raised to have good marks, to be good girls, and to obey the rules and be perfect for, I don't know, whatever is in front of us. So then if you don't have A, it means it's a failure, it's a B. So if you're not a 10, it means you're a failure because now your worth is not good enough. So we
But that
build
probably
up
has to
high.
do with how they grew up too, right? Like their confidence level, their insecurity.
Exactly. But if you see, if you see those role models, and if you see how, I mean, we are under influence of, we see everywhere on TV or now on social media, good looking people, like beautiful people. So they are creating something, some standard, at least subconsciously, but many times really consciously.
So I
Um,
think it has that. Now we're getting into territory where it has nothing to do with like be kind to yourself. Now we're getting,
really?
now we're talking about like comparing yourself to others. Remember when I said what I said about everybody should do a podcast because there's nothing that's gonna, for me, I think there's nothing that's gonna make you more love yourself more than keep watching yourself on video. Like you, like
Really?
for me, the process of watching myself on video is how can you can learn to be more kind to yourself, to love yourself. I just think that it's kind of like the whole the exposure therapy. I think you have to expose yourself to yourself and be self-aware because it's it doesn't just it doesn't just come in the form of looks. I think like some people are like I can see, for example, I see a lot of people who are very insecure about their talent, like what like they could be a designer or developer or whatever it is, right? And they think that they're not good enough, and they're like, oh, like who am I to make content? Who am I to do this? Like they're not being kind to themselves when maybe their evaluation of themselves is like a lot. Maybe they're like here. Maybe they're not here. They're here, but they actually think they're like here or something like that. So it doesn't quite
Hmm.
match up. And I think the only way is like a lot of that has to do with ego. And I heard this from actually Jordan Peterson, where when you're a baby, or maybe I didn't hear it from Jordan. I heard it from I don't know who. Oh no, I think I heard it from uh what's his name? Um the one that
Gabor Mate.
government where like all babies want to express themselves. Like when you're 2 years old, like you'll throw tantrums, like you'll cry if you want to cry. You do whatever. Like the human nature is that we want to express ourselves. And he said throughout childhood, if the parents allow them
Hmm.
to express themselves, they're gonna grow up more healthy, where they're more confident in themselves and more they're able to express themselves without insecurity and things like that. But as soon as you cry, if the parents like punish you for every little way you express yourself, if the parents keep punishing you throughout your childhood, you're gonna grow up censoring yourself. You're gonna grow up like not expressing your authentic self. And I think the more that is, probably the more insecure you are. And that's probably why people don't speak up. It's probably why people don't, think that they're not good enough or whatever it is. And it can apply to looks, but it can also apply to your. It's probably different. People probably have different insecurities, right?
So, so is your advice in that case as well that you need to expose yourself to those
Yeah, I
things
think
that you fear of?
I I think it's one of the ways. Just like
I mean, the fact that this worked for you is not proving much,
I know,
because many people would see how awful they are, and they would never film themselves again, even if they, you have so many actors, they never watch their own movies. They have validation from the world, they have everything, but
but it's
they
not.
can't watch
It's not for validation. I think
what.
you exposing yourself to yourself. It's like I mean the recording yourself is like that's probably more like if you don't like the way you talk or something like that, right? But like okay, so I can only talk about things that I'm insecure about because
Yeah, but just imagine an
Mhm.
actor that is accepted that won an Oscar for a movie they didn't watch because they cannot stand themselves,
I
watching
know, but it's
themselves. Like,
because is it because of their acting? Are they insecure about their acting, or is it because they're insecure about their looks? Those are
I
two different things.
think I think it's acting in the first place. I don't know about the look, but maybe it is about the look as well. Probably for some people
I
there
think for the
are.
looks thing, I think it's because I really do think it's coming from ego, right? They've 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 put I need to be beautiful in a pedestal, right? And what happens is if I don't look like a model, then I'm not good enough. Where does that come from? Like why do
What's
you
the
need to
difference? What's the difference between the look and the skill?
it's the same. What I'm trying to
Okay,
say
I
is like I guess what I'm trying to say is like they have to be self-aware to know that I'm not a 10. I'm a 6 and I'm secure in
mm-hmm.
that I'm a 6. Do you understand what I mean?
I am secure at 6.
Yeah, but I think that that insecurity happens is because they think that they have to be a 10, and if I'm not a 10, I'm gonna feel insecure, and that's an ego. Is because they've put themselves in they've they've identified themselves that, oh, if I'm not a 10, I'm not worthy, right?
Hmm.
So it's their ego, that's their identity ego, that's telling them, right? Like, and it's the same as, like, some people might be like, oh, if I don't have a million followers, then I'm not good enough. If I don't have you know a Lamborghini, I'm not good enough, you know. Or if I don't win this award, then if I didn't win an Oscar, then I'm not good enough.
Yeah. So this is what you said, that the topic of comparison and being kind.
Yeah,
So when you said that these are two different topics,
maybe
what do
it's
you
the
see that
same.
it's different?
Maybe it's the same topic,
Okay.
but maybe, like,
I think
maybe the way for you to become
because
more secure.
imagine,
Yeah.
imagine a woman. I mean, I'm just using look because it's obvious, but it can
Mhm.
be for any
Not all
insecurities,
women are like that, though. I would
of
actually argue
course.
that most women aren't like that.
Aren't insecure about their look?
Yeah.
Nope.
How many people, not the woman that I know around in my life.
I mean, the fact that you think that they're not insecure doesn't prove that they are not.
I mean, everybody's insecure to a certain degree, right?
But I think you need to be
Maybe
a
we're
woman.
focusing on the wrong. Maybe what we should be focusing on is the what's toxic right now in the culture or environment. Like, what's wrong with the world right now?
What's wrong with the world? Mm,
Like, if I would say woman feeling like I'm not pretty enough, I wouldn't put that at the top of the list. I would put more like, if anything, their insecurity, I
I
don't think
mean,
is really coming from looks.
yeah, I didn't think about look in the first place.
Hmm.
The I think it's not at all about look. It's about not being good enough. So having high expectations and having this scar that can be to be stupid, to be not lovable, not to deserve something that is happening to you. So that nobody likes you for who you are, not only for who you look, but what you are. So the whole not good enough thing. So this is the problem. So we feel like we are not good enough, and how society is fixing it is by telling yourself you should be kind. So this is, or like you have those women
I'm good
circles
enough.
together. Yeah. So this is how they fix it. Imagine a woman 100 years ago, um, or 200 years ago, in terms of, I don't know, a look, confidence was totally different for the same look. So the environment and influence of the environment is totally different now than 100 or 200 years from now. Um, but now it's like this. So what I want to say is, um, this is definitely a problem, and how to fix it is by addressing that you don't like yourself and this is your pattern. So you will see that about yourself. So only if you validate that you kind of ruin your life and this is what you do, only by then you can change something about it. Does this make sense?
No.
Good.
Like, are you saying that women 200 years ago didn't have this problem, or they did have this problem?
No, 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 no. I found my flaws in my argument on the way, so I kind of just drifted to another thing.
Uh-huh.
Because the women didn't have so many rights and so on, so they were considered like they're for the babies and for the family to stay home, and that's it. So this is another issue. Mm,
Like, what do you think about, you know how have you heard of Mel Robbins' high five rule?
uh, not
Like,
fa-
like
one, two, three, four, five.
so she has the 5 second rule, right? The book.
5 seconds off. Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
her second book is called, I think, High Five or something like that.
Oh, I know, I know. Look yourself in a mirror and say,
And then you give
okay.
yourself a high five in the mirror. What do you think about
I
that?
mean,
Does that
I
work?
mean, high five.
I mean,
I mean,
according to
it's
her, it
so.
works. I don't know if there's any science behind that. I'm actually genuinely curious.
I mean, you have also. I don't know if you know about that laughter therapy. Have you
No,
heard for that?
no.
It's like I start forced laugh,
Mhm.
and then if there is somebody there, they also start laughing, so we laugh together, no reason, just for sake of laughing, and this builds up some
Like, it makes you happy.
hormones.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you actually feel more happy, confident, or whatever it is. So I'm saying, eventually you
There's
will
probably some
start
truth to
laughing.
that.
Yeah, there is, but the fact that there is a truth there doesn't mean that this makes sense in the long run, because
I don't
from
know.
my perspective
Yeah.
at a moment, because if I'm miserable, it is so hard for me to force myself do these techniques. If I'm not miserable, it will not come to my mind to do these techniques. So it's not sustainable. It's something that maybe is good, but doesn't help anybody. You know?
Most of these things don't help most people. And that's the reason why, I mean, there's all these self-help books. Like, how many
I
people
mean, the
actually
thing is,
does it help?
exactly, the thing is how much something is sustainable. So they say, I don't know, uh, ketogenic diet is very good for your health
Hmm.
because of your blood sugar, blah, blah,
Hmm.
blah, blah. But it's not sustainable. So Mediterranean diet is always in the first ranking as the first in terms of how sustainable it is, because it gives you a lot of choice. You can eat with your friends. You have a lot of meals. You don't need to think about how many carbohydrates you took. So, I mean, is it good? Yes. Can it help you? No.
It can if you do it. The question, the thing is, most people won't do it.
Son, it's not if you can or you cannot. Is it if it's adding value to your life, or you need to sacrifice everything for that? And this is how you create other problems. So you can make a solution with that and create much more problems later. Because imagine a person that really wants to use their willpower to adapt ketogenic diet. They have so much more challenges on the way. So for majority of people, it is, there is different. I mean, I'm digressing, but it's not only food that you like intake, that you need to like not feel hungry, but also there is the satiety part of food. So you need to literally to be satisfied with your food, because if you're not, then it will trigger for you to crave some food. Then you will go to a party, and then you see your friends and you cannot eat anything there. And then this also builds tension. You cannot relax. You see all that food in front of you. So then you go home and you eat too much of allowed food.
Mm-hmm.
And then do it long enough, maybe you will develop eating disorder, for example. Or you will give up and say again to yourself, you are a loser because you can never do um, anything good for yourself. So, I mean, the fact that something is good is not proving anything. But imagine if something is sustainable. So you need to do something in moderation. Okay, Mediterranean diet. So sometimes salad, but okay, you're out. Maybe you don't have like a perfect meal, but I don't know, some veggie burger, for example. I don't know.
But the
Um,
but like the high five one, right? That is sustainable if you
yeah.
actually do it.
So, so do we know exactly what this means? To wake
No,
up to do it, or to?
no, she said every morning you should go into the mirror and just give yourself a high five. But I don't know if that's true. But I think the 5 second rule is right. So like the first book about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you just take action. That is
Mhm.
definitely it works. Is it sustainable? Um, I think the question is that not that is it sustainable. The question is, this is the problem with self help. Is that most of us, it's not that we don't know what we need to do. I think most of us know what we're doing. I think most of us know what is the right thing to do and what's the wrong thing to do. But we do the wrong thing anyway because we're human and we can't, we all of our motivation, everything is based on dopamines, right? So
Okay.
it's the reason why people can't quit alcohol. It's the reason why people can't quit drugs. It's the reason why we have addiction. You know what I mean? It's not that we don't. It's the reason why we don't go exercise. It's not that we don't know that exercise is good for us. It's just that are you actually gonna do it, right? And that's the problem with self help is that I actually think that self help delays us from actually taking action because once you start once you get a dopamine hit from watching some YouTube video by you know Mel Robbins, like we just get addicted to learning more self help rather than actually doing the things that
Mhm.
we're supposed to do. So maybe the
Okay.
affirmation is good. Maybe but is it? But I don't know actually that I don't know. See, like now we're talking about a concept that I don't have personal experience with, and it's hard for me to come up with a mixture sandwich for something I don't. This is the thing. This is the thing. What I mean by it takes me so long to learn something. Right? Remember in the previous episode, I said it takes me much longer to learn a lesson than most people, right? Because
Yeah.
most people will just be like, "Oh, just give myself a high five, okay," and just they'll just blindly just give themselves a high five. But for me to learn something, I actually have to go through and experience it. I do have to do it, make mistakes, and do it wrong, and a lot of different ways. And then I learn all the nuances of that. And once I learn all the
Okay.
nuances, then I can explain it in a clear way for somebody who hasn't gone through that.
Will you,
Uh-huh.
Sun E, will be willing to every morning get up and give yourself a high five for the next 2 weeks
What is the point of that though?
to test if this works for you or not?
I the problem is I'm not.
You're so motivated. Wow, awesome. Let's do
I mean, I
it.
can, but I don't hate myself. I don't have problem loving myself. If anything, I love myself too much. That's the problem.
Okay, then say high five. Today I will moderately love myself and then give yourself high five.
But like that doesn't make any sense.
Who knows? Who knows if you didn't try it?
No, like because the whole point of giving yourself high five is to not judge yourself and to to love yourself and all of that.
Boring.
I know the reason why this doesn't really work for me is because I think for me, I can only talk about things that I've personally struggled with in my life and I learned a lesson from my own life. It's hard for me to just be an academic and talk about
No,
something that's,
I thought just to try to see if it does something to you or not.
yeah, I can try. Yeah. I know that the 5 second
Okay.
rule works.
We don't know if you really know.
No, no, the high five, yes. The 5 second, I'm talking about the 5 second rule, the one where you say five,
Oh,
four, three, two, one.
okay. Okay. So,
So here's the thing, right? For me, the 5 second
mhm.
rule works. And the way I can explain it to you, like somebody might be like, 5 second rule, that's stupid. What? Just do five, four, three, two, one. That's not gonna work. Let's say somebody out there is like that, right? And my job is change your mind. If you think 5 second rule is stupid, you think counting down just five, four, three, two, one, and then taking action, what is that gonna do? Well, here's the thing, right? And the reason why I know this is because I felt it and I know what it feels like. Because I know what it feels like, now I can connect to something universal that almost everyone has felt. Okay? So,
Okay.
for example, if you go to Sunday service or you're in a meeting and you're like, you want to ask a question, you want to raise your hand, right? But you don't just raise your hand right away. You're like, oh, what should I say? Oh, what if the, and you start thinking, right? The more you think, the more time has passed, the harder it becomes, right?
Mm-hmm.
The less likely you're to do it. But then if you just don't even think about it and go five, four, three, two, one, just in the first, don't without even thinking, just go ahead and commit first. And it's actually not that bad, right? Then you realize actually, oh, that wasn't that bad, right? And it's the same thing. And like I've experienced for guys, I can almost every guy have felt this because if I want to talk to a girl, right? I can just go up to her and start talking to her right away. But if I start thinking, okay, what should I say to her? Oh, should I say this? Oh, should I say this? No, that's gonna be weird. Oh, but what if I say that? Oh, then what if she does like this? Once you start thinking about that, overthinking it, over analyzing everything, the longer you do it, the harder it's gonna be for you to do it. You just have to just shut up and just do it, right? And that's the reason why it works. The stupid 5 second rule. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So the reason why I can explain that in a myth true sandwich is because I've experienced it and I know what it feels like. And it feels kind of like being in a meeting and not raising your hand, or it feels kind of like when you're at a bar and not walking up to a girl and speaking right away. It feels kind of like that. It gives you analysis. The longer you wait, the more you get analysis paralysis. And that's the reason why 5 second rule works. But I can't explain the same thing with the high five rule because I personally didn't have insecurity and or anything like that, right? Where I had to overcome it through telling myself, "Oh, I'm smart, I'm beautiful." Like I've never actually experienced that, so it's hard for me to connect the dot to a universal truth because I don't know what that feels like. First, I need to know what that feels like for me to connect those dots.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Definitely. I'm
So, do
just
you?
thinking about what affirmation.
So,
Yeah.
let me ask you a question.
Hmm.
Is there something you feel insecure about where you fixed it?
Uh, yes. I mean, I remember when I was in high school, I watched The Secret, okay? And then I've
You mean the
introduced
book?
myself. Yeah, I mean, it was the movie.
Okay. What is it,
And
like a
after
documentary?
that, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
documentary. And after that, I was introduced to those like self-help sentences, affirmations. And I wrote them down and I was practicing them. Um,
And
I
it
was
didn't
doing
work.
that for quite some time.
Hmm.
Nope, I could say them like literally to repeat them you know, by heart. This is how much I've been doing them, but nothing was happening. Literally nothing. I was boosting my confidence, but it is like, you know, in the morning you say like, I'm confident, and then you kind of take the ownership of your confidence, but it is just some kind of, I don't know, some energy or some kind of willpower. I will willpower my confidence,
Hmm.
you know. So it is fake it till you make it. But
Okay.
no, this didn't happen.
So what worked?
Yeah, it worked. I told you a few times about I mean, this actually opened up the whole perspective later when my mentor, when somebody asked my professor a question and she didn't know, and she sat on the floor and started reading a book. So that was something that
Mm.
unlocked, I mean, the whole experience there in that education, how people were accepting, was another experience for me, that I don't need to be that much strict. So this is so experience from the
It's
outside.
a confirmation. Yeah.
Yeah. um Also with my therapist, I would come with something that I don't know, something that I'm not satisfied with, or how this was, or I'm so disappointed in myself, and she would just listen to me like, "Oh, okay, so I don't see that much a problem with that." And her reaction of, like, her not reacting as much as I was reacting was the first step. Then after that, I started noticing how critical I am to myself. And I started slowly to see this, to see that I'm torturing myself. So the first thing was that I was, after that I could see that because I didn't fight with the world was calm, so I could see how cruel I was to myself. And after that I decided, I mean,
I feel like the what happened was you had a identity of yourself, like a you had a you had an ego, meaning identity of I need to be like this,
yeah,
right? But then that identity was broken when you saw that from the professor or whatever, where you said, "Oh, I don't need to be like that,"
yeah,
and then you actually believe that. You actually believe that I don't need to be like that, because you can tell yourself, oh, "I don't need to be like that," all you want. Like maybe the question is, it's not the affirmation like, "Oh, I'm beautiful." Maybe that's not the goal. Maybe the goal is, I don't need to be beautiful. Do you understand what I mean?
mhm,
I mean,
yeah,
if you think those things are related, I don't know if it is, but like for me, like it's I had the identity that, oh, I need to have all the answers. If I go into a meeting, a client meeting, and client asks me a question or something like that, I have to have all the right answers, and then that I've broken that belief, right? It's kind of like what we talked about before. Like
yeah, yeah,
I can't force you to believe something you don't believe in, right? Remember, like if I say,
yeah,
if you believe, if you're like 5 feet tall, and I say, oh, I believe that I'm 6 feet tall. Like, no, you can't just believe that you're 6 feet tall if you're not 6 feet tall. Do you understand what I mean?
yeah,
So, I and that's kind of what affirmations are, right? You're basically lying to yourself. So it doesn't matter how much you can't force yourself to believe something just by saying some affirmation. Maybe that's the myth truth sandwich. Myth truth sandwich is that, you know people have these affirmations, right? Oh, I'm beautiful, I'm smart, I'm successful, right?
hmm,
Which kind of is the law of attraction. That's what I was talking about. Like when I think of affirmation, I think of law of attraction, like manifesting. So, and the
yeah,
secret is basically that, right? So that's
yeah,
that's what I'm talking
yeah,
about. Yeah. So I'm beautiful, I'm smart, blah, 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 whatever it is, right? But just because you tell yourself that doesn't mean you believe it. If you were 5 feet tall and I said, I believe I'm 6 feet tall, can you actually believe that you're 6 feet tall? No.
mm,
And that's why affirmations don't work. But I think affirmations do work when you actually do believe it.
yeah, yes, I agree. Because then it's much easier to, it is like you need to believe that you can get through your problem, for example, for you
Yeah.
to, when you are anxious, to say, son, you will get through this, so this happened before, so
Maybe it's something
you
like
can do
this.
it.
I believe that I can be beautiful. Something like that. Maybe I believe that I can be successful. I believe that I can be. Do you understand what I mean?
Hmm, yeah,
Let's put the beautiful part aside for a second.
hmm,
Like I've had this so many times in my life where I told a story, right? I don't know if I ever told you, but I've been saying, oh, I'm gonna get a a motorcycle one day. Oh, I love Harley Davidson. One day I'm gonna get a motorcycle. One day I'm gonna get a motorcycle. One day I'm gonna get a motorcycle. I I've been telling that to people all the time. Oh, it's like, oh, I love Harley Davidson. I'm gonna get a motorcycle one day. I never actually believed it. Do you know what I mean?
Mm,
Like, but then I went to Dominican Republic and I rode a motorcycle and I saw a lot of motorcycle and I got this bug and I'm like, okay, I'm really gonna get it. When I go back, I'm gonna get a motorcycle. I believe that, right? And once
mm-hmm.
that happened, as soon as I got back, I started researching. What do I need to get a motorcycle? Okay, how do I get my license? How much does this cost? And then, like, I think within 2 months, I ended up getting my license and got a motorcycle. Do you understand what I mean? Even though
Yes.
for
I
years I've
see.
been saying it, but I didn't actually believe it. But once you believe it, you're gonna do the things that's gonna take. You're gonna take the actions that's gonna lead to that thing because you actually believe you can do it. But if you don't believe
Mm,
that you can do it, you're not even gonna bother taking those actions. Do you understand what I mean?
I see. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing. Like, how many people you know say, "Oh, one day I'm gonna quit my job and start a business." One day, one day, one day. They don't actually believe it because if they believed it, what they would do is after work they would go home and they would start researching and they'd be like, okay, how do I? Okay, I want to name my company this. Okay, let me go register a website. Okay, I need a logo. And, like, they would actually take the actions to create that business because they believe that they can do it. But without that belief, you can say all you want. One day, it's just going to be one day. And when you say one day, I'm going to do it, you don't actually. It's because you don't actually believe it.
I see. True.
So in that sense, affirmations do work, but not just saying, I'm successful. I'm successful." No,
So being kind to yourself, it works only if you are already kind to yourself.
is that the same thing though? What I just said in terms of that law of attraction, is that the same thing as like being kind to yourself thing? That might be something that insecurity might be something different. That insecurity might be like, because I think a lot of people become insecure about themselves when somebody breaks up with them. I like this is such a common thing I see with people where it just they get dumped and they're like their self confidence just their self esteem just drops.
Mm-hmm.
It's like maybe a combination of like something that or like if people that feel like they've been abandoned by their parents or something like that. Like that abandonment, I feel like really kills
Mm-hmm.
your confidence and it's hard to get that back once that happens.
Mm, I'm thinking, is this the same or not? I mean, definitely the topic is not the same. So, in terms of saying kind words to yourself, but
Like here's let me see if
it's
this
not the
sounds
same.
familiar.
It's not the same.
Yeah, I don't think it's the
Okay.
same. I don't you know do you know that well, I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard people say that a guy in a relationship that's already in a relationship will attract other girls more than guys who are single.
Yeah.
Like, have you heard that?
Yeah.
And for me, it's definitely from my life experience, it's definitely been true. Whenever I'm in a relationship, like I had more opportunities to, you know, with more girls. Then when I was single, I'm like, oh, I'm single, I'm available, but the opportunities never come. But then as soon as I get a girlfriend, all of a sudden, like, do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's because when you're single, you're more insecure because you're like, oh, and since you're more insecure, it's harder. People can sense that insecurity, so you're less attractive, and so on and so on. But when you're already in a relationship, you're more secure, right? Because you have at least one person who wants you,
Hmm.
and that security, people can smell that security, that confidence too. Then you actually attract more people, and so on and so on. So and that actually gives you even more confidence because you're like, oh, all these girls want me, and they give you more confidence, and so on. And you know what I mean?
Yeah. I thought, um,
I mean, that's probably not
so
healthy, but
your hypothesis, yeah, your hypothesis is that women can smell the
it probably goes both
confidence.
ways.
What's the other way from the guy to the?
Like like when a girl is more desperate, it's probably less attractive than a girl who's more feels more secure about themselves, who is more like girls who are more confident in themselves are more attractive than girls who are desperate, something like that.
There is something, I'm not sure about this, but so when somebody is in a relationship, it means that they are wanted. Like
Oh, I see
somebody
what you
wants
mean. Yeah.
them. So based on that, this is kind of a not a recommendation, but this person is actually wanted person because that's why they are in the relationship. So their kind of
Hmm.
status goes up. But somebody who is single, I mean,
But
thinking about a
here's the thing. Yes, that yes, there's some truth to that, but this happens even if they don't know that you're in a relationship. There's just a natural confidence that comes out.
okay.
I think when you're in a relationship, so that even if that person doesn't know thinks that I'm single, they can still sense it.
Oh, I remember when I had my first official boyfriend. I remember the feeling of like having, so now I have a boyfriend. So that kind of fact.
Hmm.
And this gave me a little bit of confidence, like, I have a boyfriend.
Hmm.
So I had that, and one friend one time because I answered something maybe a little bit arrogant or something like that. He
Hmm.
said, "Oh, so now you have a boyfriend, and now you're like, yeah." I felt ashamed a little bit because it was
Hmm.
true. It's that feeling.
Yeah, and that's
Um,
probably the reason why when you get dumped, like you become more insecure, or you're like, oh, I'm not good enough, or
yeah.
something like that. That's why I think the beauty thing is a little bit different than other form of insecurity, because I think for females, for women to care about their looks, it's so natural. It's almost like it's almost like um yeah. I think it's in the genes. Do you know what I mean? Because that's how mating works, right? If you go back in the caveman days, right? Like let's look at all throughout history. Like
Mm-hmm.
um, a woman knows that if if they mate with the most, the top of the food chain, then
Mm-hmm.
most likely their babies are going to be safer, right? So they want the person that's at the top of the most capable of survival, feeding them. They can hunt, they can do all of these things, right? And then like like how Jordan Peterson talks about this actually. The so actually women are really smart in a way that the way that men compete in a dominance hierarchy is
Mm-hmm.
that you know the one who's the strongest is on top, and then so on and so on and so on, all the way to the bottom, right? Like the one that's can't hunt at all, they're completely useless, right? And then they sort themselves out like that, right? And it that competition is pretty clear that you can rank from you know who gets the most food and whatever. It's obvious.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For a woman, how do they sort themselves in the hierarchy? Is that or how do they like? Oh, no, actually it's the other way around. When a man looks at a woman, men are very visual.
Yeah.
So the hottest girl is up here and the ugliest girl is down here, right? So and then the men choose from there, like who, and most likely the top of the hierarchy, top person will get the
Mm-hmm.
top, and so on and so on and so on. It's very this is not even controversial. You can just see from a dating app how they match up, and it's very obvious data. Okay, now how do women how do women find out that who's the top of the hierarchy? Well, they let the men sort it out, and whoever wins at the end. You know what I mean? So the way that woman like sorts out the hierarchy is by letting the men duke it out first,
Mm-hmm.
and then whoever wins the gets this girl. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And women know that, you know that. So I think that's why like a lot of women are naturally like it's in their genes to want to look good because they know that that's the way you can get this guy. Do you understand what I mean? And that's so ingrained in us that it hasn't changed, right? It's like you can't change human nature. The only difference is that now, it instead of it being about who can go get more, who can hunt more food, it's more about who can take care of their family, who has the financial means or whatever, who can provide that safety, the security the most. You know what I mean? That's why the billionaires gets the hottest girls. And the girls are smart, right? They let them sort it out. Okay, who has more money? Okay, boom, boom. You don't deserve me. You do deserve me. So on and so on. And that's probably why the beauty thing is a little bit different than all the other insecurities.
Mm-hmm.
Because even though you shouldn't care about how you look, everything in your body, all your DNA, everything is telling you otherwise.
So in that sense, you should say if you are 5, you should say that you're 10, because
No.
it's not only how you look, but it's also how you sell it, because you don't only see, you are also influenced
Yeah, you
by.
should be more confident, I think, because that's more attractive. But I think, yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
Imagine a 10 saying they're 4. Probably she would be less attractive.
no, I don't think it works that way.
I think it works.
No, I actually think that she's more attractive.
If she says she's 4,
Hmm.
why?
I don't know why, but a 10 saying that they're a 10 saying that they're a 4 is more attractive than a 4 saying that they're 10.
Congratulations.
Because I think a 10 saying that they're, here's why. And I'm going to get some shit for this. A 10 saying that they're 4, I think shows some kind of an innocence. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because usually when a 10 says that they're 4, they're usually more younger girls who doesn't know that they're hot yet. Because they haven't been out in the real world yet. And they haven't walked down the streets of New York City where everybody's like trying to hit on them, right? Do you understand what I mean? So
Okay.
that shows some kind of pureness, some sort of an innocence. Do you understand me? As opposed to a 10 knowing that they're 10 because they've been around the block. Do you know what I mean? That shows more experience, less
Yeah.
innocence, right?
I
And I think
mean,
that innocence is more attractive in a female because that's what a guy wants a virgin. Like
attractive
I
and
think that one of the biggest values of for a female is their virginity. Like I know that people don't say, "Oh, what does it matter body count?" Blah blah blah. It's because um, for a male, first of all, if you're a virgin, like we know for a fact that you don't have any other children, right? And secondly, like you know, I think a guy like for some reason for a girl when they fall in love with a guy,
mhm.
it's much harder for her to forget that person. Do you know what I mean? If they really like fall in love with the guy, right? They're more
Okay.
emotionally attached to their then like that's why it's a lot easier for a guy to just sleep around than for a girl to just sleep around. Like girl can't just like sleep around without emotions attached.
Okay.
Or less at least, less than a guy, right? So if a girl is a virgin, that means that girl comes with less baggage. Do you know what I mean? Like she's probably gonna be loyal to me, to our children, to the family, and it's gonna be a more fit mother, right? Whereas if I marry somebody who's slept with 50 guys, I'm taking a risk by marrying this girl and having children with her. You understand what I mean?
I mean, are you speaking about like pureness?
I mean, I'm sure
Because,
there's something about that makes the more pure, innocent girl more attractive than the one that's not.
but I think these are like really not self-aware girl that is 10. They say, I'm 4." This is so rare case. I'm now like children at the age of 7 know their body type and learn about dieting. So it's kind of, they see a lot in a lot of younger age that. But what is much more common, I think, is, so many women that are in some relationship that is not healthy one, let's say it like that, where they crave for attention and contact with it from their partner, but their partners are dismissing them or commenting on their look or how they're dressed up, or never paying attention to them. So to those girls, no matter how beautiful they
Yeah,
are,
I know what you mean. Yeah.
they only care for his validation, for his
Yeah.
attention.
I guess it's like the difference between insecurity and humility. Like, I think humility is attractive, insecurity is not.
Yeah. True.
Like, here's a good example. You ever watch Mean Girls?
No.
Oh, you never saw Mean Girls?
No, should I?
uh, it's such a good movie. Like, um,
Maybe I did. Let me Google it. I thought it's a series.
because it's like if you watch it, it's like perfect example. It's like Regina George, who's like the hot, like
I
popular girl in
think I
school,
watched it. I think I watched it.
uh, versus like
But
Lindsay Lohan's character. Like that, they're both pretty, but Lindsay Lohan is like confident, but still very humble, pretty. Whereas in Regina George is like kind of fake, you know, like insecure pretty. Do you understand what I mean?
yeah, I see.
I'm trying to think of
Mm,
another example. But anyway, yeah. But I the only myth truth sandwich I can come come from this is why affirmation is bullshit, because you can't force yourself to believe something you don't believe, no matter how many times you say, "I'm 6 feet tall. I'm 6 feet tall." If you're 5 feet tall, you're not gonna believe you're 6 feet tall. That's the only because that's the one I resonate with. No matter how many times I said, "I'm gonna get a motorcycle. I'm gonna get a motorcycle," like just saying it and not actually believing it is not gonna do anything. Some like, oh, I'm gonna quit smoking one day. I'm gonna quit smoking one day. Versus, do you understand what I mean?
yeah.
And then you know, they get, the doctor says, oh, you have some problem with your lungs or something like that. Then it actually forces them that then now I actually have to believe that I'm gonna quit, and they actually take action, right? Something has to happen where your belief has to change first. Just like you know, your belief about not having all the answers had to change before you accept that, right?
Yeah. Okay. So
What's the other one? Because you said you have more, right?
yeah.
I mean, this one, sorry, I couldn't really help because I couldn't really relate to it from my life.
Okay.
You look defeated.
I will look myself in a mirror and do a
Give
high
yourself a
five.
high five.
Yeah. Let me think which one to choose.
Is the myth truth sandwich that I came up with something in line with what you were thinking, or is it like totally different?
Um, well, I wrote that if so, this is how I wrote it down. We know that we should be gentle to ourselves. This is how I said it, but it can be affirmations or whatever. So we practice it. For example, in front of a mirror, you say, it's okay to make mistakes, nobody's perfect. But deep down, you don't feel it. so you force it. Um, Only if you made mistakes and part of you almost hate yourself, so you stay in those unpleasant feelings and learn to live with them, you can slowly accept the mistake in you, so you can say it's okay to make mistakes and really mean it.
Okay, now give me an example.
So my example was this lady saying to herself that something, it's okay to make mistakes, nobody's perfect, but not believing it.
Okay. I mean, I guess it does come down to like whether you believe it or not, right? So that part is the same.
Um, so we have, if you believe this is true or not, definitely. But there is also this part of, like example with scar. This is maybe better example. So you have a scar. This represents whatever you don't like about yourself, and you hate yourself for having that scar. You wanna get rid of it, and you hope you will have you may get rid of it, but you cannot. So you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, you are fine the way you are. It's only a scar, la, 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 but only if you really, almost hate yourself for having that scar and accepting that you don't like that. It's so ugly. You wish it's not there, but it is there. Only then you can live your life with that and enjoy.
See, it doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't. For me, that it feels like a you're trying to force a piece of puzzle that doesn't fit. Do you know what I mean?
Do you think that the what I read before was better, and now with the scar is
Both of
not?
them doesn't really fit. 'Cause the first one, because I don't have like a real example of because like
So maybe, what if the example is, it's okay to be 5 feet tall. You are good.
like you have to
You.
believe that it's okay to be 5 feet tall. Like the old you is like, oh, I'm only 5 feet tall. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough, right?
Hmm.
But you have to believe that it's okay to be 5 feet tall.
Yeah.
And the way you got there was through external validation, right? Oh, this person is 5 feet tall, and they're cool, and they're good enough. So therefore, I can be good enough too. But it's still
Hmm.
external. You
Yeah.
understand what I mean?
Yeah.
And so maybe that has something to do with, yeah. Like for me, the goal is this. It's who am I speaking to? People who think that I can just do affirmations and read the secret and be like, oh, I'm rich and I'm successful and that's gonna work. Like that's the person I'm talking to, right? Vision board and blah blah blah, right? Well, none of those things are gonna work if you don't believe it, and you can't force yourself to believe something you don't believe. And then, in order to believe it, And I think that once, maybe to two parts. One, you can't force yourself to believe something you don't believe. But once you actually believe, that's when you're going to start taking action. And that's why law of attraction only works when you actually truly believe it in your heart. And you can't force yourself to believe you don't want to believe.
Imagine like this.
Mhm.
Imagine a woman, for example, that so didn't finish her, I don't know, project, or failed at her work, so gave up on her career. Mm, she's seeing herself in so negative way, like that she, I don't know, she's depressive, she gained weight, um, she doesn't have a partner, so her self-esteem is very low. And she starts reading these things and affirmations and vision board. So the thing is, she assumes, okay, so if I really want to accept myself, I need to do this. So then the next thing is she's trying to do this, she's creating her vision board, she's doing all this work. But actually, why this is not working? Because the whole time she's denying one crucial part, and that is how she actually thinks and feels about herself. Maybe she's deep down, she feels like she will end up alone and she will never be good enough, and she will, I don't know, live with her parents all her life. So she needs to constantly deny the ugly truth for the nice vision board. The point is, the point is in that denial. But if you say like, okay, I see that it's bad time in my life, I am afraid that I will end up alone, I don't value myself, I am not confident. So if everything is on the surface, what you said, actually, then they can do something about it. So because it looks like online on social media, with those affirmation comes denial. So they're supporting denial. Let's live in denial
Is that what
with
you were
this.
doing when you read The
Hmm?
Secret? When you saw The
Of course,
Secret and you kept,
of course. I also made my dollar, and I also put that
and the more you did it,
somewhere.
the you felt more you felt like you were denying it, like you're in denial.
I mean, let me think.
So you're speaking to, is your audience the person that you're speaking to right now? Is it the young version of you, young Yelena?
This example.
Remember, I said that you should make, when you make content, first you need to think about who is this for,
Okay.
and then you have to put yourself in their shoes, right? And then what do I need to say to this person to make them understand what I like right now? Imagine that you're talking to young Yelena who just watched The Secret and is keeps doing the affirmations, right? What do you need to say to her in order for her to change?
um that this is, I mean, the first thing, this is not gonna bring me any of those things I hoped for. So this is not a solution, this is only a sidetrack. um so The thing is, I I was sure that I was stupid and not capable of doing complex things. That I never questioned that. So this is, I've never questioned if this maybe is not truth. Whatever I've been doing, I've been confirming my theory about myself, which is that I'm stupid. Because if I'm doing these affirmations and nothing happens, it means that I didn't do it long enough, or some I'm stupid.
Like this, yeah, this doesn't work for me because
Yeah.
because I'm not good enough.
If I'm not if I'm I don't know, with some friends and they're talking about something and they ask me and I don't know what are they talking about, it means that I'm stupid because I don't know, I didn't read about it. So whatever I've been doing, I was holding to that belief so strong. Um, so
How did you get out of it? Because you were inspired by that other professor.
yeah, I mean, part of it was because I saw that I was capable of learning things at my university. I mean, this was the first time I was actually learning things. So part of it by doing the work and seeing the result. Um, but it was only a facade. So the real thing was I was putting a lot of effort to maintain the picture. So I was an imposter. I was looking smart, being quiet, trying to say when I'm sure that what I'm going to say is going to be right. So I was putting a lot of energy to this facade. But the real change went years later um, when actually expectations weren't high. Somebody lowered my expectations because I saw that my expectations are here and other people's expectations are here. And I was like, okay, so I can relax. So this is what happened for me. I don't know what I will say to myself. Well, probably that I have too high expectations.
And
Mm,
what would the young Yelena have said?
she wouldn't believe me at all.
What do you think is going
She
to
was
make her
young.
believe it? What's the thing that's going to be like, oh, give her the aha moment?
I mean, if somebody told me like whatever you do, it's fine. It's totally fine. So you're allowed to have the worst mark and to repeat class, and nothing will happen. So this is fine. If somebody was telling me that repeatedly, probably I would.
This is why when I so this is a tough one because the way you realized it is actually through external validation. Some of the myth truth that I do, I realized it because I saw the logical fallacy, right? For example, like you know the myth truth sandwiches that I do, right? Um, if you're trying to impress somebody, impress, you think that's how you're gonna sell. But when I saw that people are trying to impress me, that didn't impress me at all, right? It actually impressed me more when they paid attention and they actually listened to me, right? And they asked me the right questions. That's how I knew that in sales, like nobody had to inspire me to do that. I just put the two and two together, and logically I just realized it, and
Mhm.
therefore I can teach it to anyone. But the thing is, the reason why you were inspired was because you saw this somebody you respect who also didn't
Yeah.
know the answer. Do you understand what I mean? That's a big
Yeah.
deal. Because if some dumbass that you don't even respect did that, that wouldn't have changed you. And
Exactly.
this is also a reason why I say one of the things that in content, what you say, which is the myth truth sandwich that I'm doing, that's one thing. But also another important thing is it's also important like who's saying it.
Mm.
Do you understand what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if Oscar Wilde says, "With age, comes comes wisdom,"
So
everyone is going to be
actually,
like, "Ooh, yeah, so true, so true." But then if I say the same exact thing, like, "Oh, don't listen to a 21-year-old life coach because they're about life advices," people are like, "You don't know what you're talking about, son." It's because I'm not Oscar Wilde.
yeah.
Do you understand what I
You
mean?
know what? You know what would help younger Yelena if this what you said. So if I would write in my carousel when I was this year old, I said this and something like some self disclosure that is like totally some. Let me think. I don't know what is supposed. What is something that it is supposed for me to know, so some or for anyone to know. What's your, I don't know, name of your president um
Like something obvious
or
that everyone should know.
yeah,
Is that what you mean?
how yeah. So if somebody told me like, hey, I'm a professional at this and this and this, and I was asked if I know this, and I didn't know, I said this and I survived, so will you, something like that.
Yeah.
Because we think we should have all the answers,
Mhm.
but you'll survive, it will be fine, nothing will happen, nobody cares.
So you'll come up with an example of somebody who didn't know the answer or something like that.
Yeah, I cannot recall my own, like some stupid thing that I said, but imagine a person doesn't know to show where is America on on map. Somebody asked them, hey, can you show us where's the America, and they're like,
Hmm.
I don't know, in front
Like
of 20 people.
but somebody who's like supposed to be smart. Because some if there's
Yeah,
some
adult.
idiot did that, I don't think that's gonna.
Yeah, yeah, we just need a good
It has
example
to be
for
somebody
that.
who you respect, right?
Or some
But how would that work? That only
example.
works for that. Like, what about somebody who feels insecure about their looks, or somebody who's insecure about their body, or somebody who's insecure about something else? It's just a really tough one. I don't. I almost feel like we're dwelling. Like I feel like this is one of those things that you have to shelf, and then next time you feel example that you think is good, then
Hmm.
you can do it.
Yeah.
But I mean, right now, I feel like the first step is to let the young Yelena know that affirmation is not going to work because you don't actually believe it.
Hmm. Okay, this is like a small chunk.
Yeah, I feel like you're trying to like you're trying to go for the you know go for the start. Let's just
Mm,
go for the moon. You know what I mean? And a lot of
yeah.
times it's gonna be like that. Like, don't try to like. I guess what I'm saying is aim low. Don't aim too high.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Um.
But
Okay, so this is the lesson, but we don't have
I feel like we
anything.
keep going in circles like this, where I keep telling you that let's find
Like today
something
or in general?
every week. It's just like I keep saying, let's stick to the lesson that you've learned yourself. How did you learn it? And then let's try to find what did that feel like when you learned it, and then let's try to connect that to an example that feels similar to that. Right?
Am I sensing that you're not satisfied, son?
I, I'm. I feel like I feel like you're trying to prove something
That this is
instead of.
complex to do?
Well, I feel like you're trying to prove something by coming up with some theory. When what I would love you to do is to go more inwards and come up with like I think it was better by you. So this one might work better if you just told it as a personal story. Like I used to feel insecure about you know what I like you know my like I used to think I wasn't smart or insecure about my
Mhm.
knowledge or something like that. And then I saw The Secret, and I kept doing this affirmation like, oh, you know, I'm smart enough, or all of those things, and none of it worked until one day I saw this lecture where this person asked a question, and wow, and that's when I realized, oh, like, oh, if that person doesn't know the answer, I don't have to either. Oh, like that might be a better way to
Mhm.
convert somebody that rather than trying to do a myth truth sandwich.
Really?
Hmm.
Well, this is, in that case, this wouldn't be hard for me at all to say it like that.
Yeah. If you want to turn that into a
But that,
myth truth, like you need to give me more. Like meaning, in what other at what other times have you felt that same emotion? Go back to the time when in the lecture, this professor was like, you know, say, oh, I don't know, let me look it up, and you were
Mhm.
like, ooh, like, oh, she doesn't know, oh, and that made you feel more confident about yourself, right? About not knowing the answer. Now think about that emotion that you felt. In which other moments in your life did you feel that?
I saw my therapist doing that. Um, if I ask her like, "What do you, what do you think about this and this?" and she's like, "I don't know." And then I try to. I was doing that more in my environment just to test it out, to say, "I don't know," and to see what will happen. And later, I've been doing that with my clients. Um, but that feeling is with my therapist. Hmm,
Okay. So what's a more common situation that if people that are not in therapy, just anybody can feel that? What's like a common situation outside of your career?
um, I mean, with I mean, any time when I had examples when somebody was trying to fix some problem. Um, I don't know. One person was helping me to make some part of my wallet, additional part that is not there. I was like, I don't know how to do it. So, and then he started, and he's good with tools. So then he started doing that. Or when I my car was something, there was a problem, and I didn't know what it is. It wasn't obvious, so I brought it to my mechanic, and he was like, I literally don't know what is this. I'll try to do it. So he decided to I mean, next 5 weeks he was trying to fix, to see what is there. And in the end he said, listen, I won't charge you anything because
Have you
I'm not
told
sure
this
if I
story
fix this.
in a small group before
Like with the car, or with some,
with your
or some other
professor
story.
or
I think so.
and what did other people give you any similar story from their life?
I don't remember. I think it wasn't so like recent.
Yeah, I mean, I think you need to keep digging. Like you need to tell the story and then see what other people say and then see what's the universal truth there that you know what I mean? And also another thing is it's more specific than just oh I'm not good enough or insecurity because it's more specific about knowledge. It's your insecurity about knowledge, having all the right answers, right? So I don't know if this also translates to other insecurities in other people's lives.
Okay, definitely it's about knowledge. So also with doctors, it's the same. I hate when they just give an advice, but I when I hear somebody, I don't know, let's hear you out. So this do something. So I don't know.
What about if I went to the young Yelena and say, hey young Yelena, I see that you're doing these affirmations like, oh, I'm smart enough, I'm good enough, blah, blah. I see that you're doing affirmation. Like, how's that going for you, right? Now, just because you say those things doesn't mean you actually believe. Saying those things is not going to work unless you actually believe it in your heart. Would you agree?
Mhm. Yeah.
And 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 you can't force yourself to believe something you don't believe in. Like if you're 5 feet tall and you keep telling yourself I'm 6 feet tall, doesn't mean you're going to actually believe it. Would you agree?
She will agree.
Therefore, the affirmation is a waste of your time. I mean, if your
Right.
myth was really that affirmations don't work, because that's where this whole conversation started.
I thought that this would work at that point.
Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Hmm.
I can't think of the other one where, because I feel like the other one is more like, hey, it's okay. You don't have to. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to. You don't have to look like a model. You don't have to have the perfect body. You don't have to be so smart. You don't have to be. You know what I mean? Like you can accept yourself the way you are, right? That that message. First of all, that's a different message. It's a different carousel, in my opinion. Has nothing to do with
Hmm.
affirmation. That message can work even for the people who doesn't do affirmation. Do you understand what I mean? People, anyone who's insecure, because that the myth that you're trying to break here has nothing to do with affirmation. The myth you're trying to break here in that first one is a. I'm trying to break your myth that you think the affirmation is going to work. I'm just telling you why affirmation is not going to work. That's all I'm trying to do here. That's the only lesson I'm trying to teach here. The
Hmm.
second lesson is, okay, what is going to work? How can you actually love yourself? How can you be kinder to yourself? Well, by realizing that you're nobody and that's okay.
Okay. Mm, okay. I think my concentration is declining gradually.
Okay. I don't know if this was helpful or not, but
I'm sort of. I mean, not much, but I don't know. I have a feeling like I should do better and I'm not doing it, so I kind of not feel good about that. But on the other hand, this is my capacity. I mean,
yeah, I
I
think
don't know. It's
what's happening
I
is
guess.
I would prefer you to, if you really want to do a myth true sandwich, that's what I mean. That's what I meant, like at the end of that last episode when I was saying, I think this conversation works better. Remember I said, first we need to talk through the idea to figure out if there's something there. And then once we decide on the idea, we write it and then we rewrite it, right? Do you understand me? So if we want to get to
Yeah.
the point here where we actually have a tight myth to sandwich that works, and we want to, like, I think the only way we can do that is if we're dealing with an idea that you already know inside and out, that you've already experienced, that you can already come up with the examples and things like that. Then we can take that and try to turn it into a carousel that works. But I feel like we keep trying to take something from here and then trying to turn it into a carousel. And the reason why it's not working is because I don't know if you've fully learned this lesson yet.
Well, I don't know neither. Um, but what is actually troubling for me is because when I'm thinking about something, um, I have an opinion on things, so I think about those things, and I mean it's so when you are in your bubble of thoughts, things make sense. um, when you talk it through, like every idea, and then you kind of see what's working and what's not working, then you have something there. um, I think it's hard for me to have that simple, I know what you ask me every time, and I would like to have that, to provide that story. But I mean, ev- it's so messy, and then to come to a clear lesson, and how was that in my past, and how did I learn it, so what's the 5-second moment, and then what's the result, and then the clear concept. So, and then to see, to find an example, and to come in front of you and to say something in a simple tone manner, I mean, for you to ask questions, and for me to say to you, this is not. And especially if I'm alone with my thoughts, and I am when I'm preparing from one another time to another, um, it looks like it's too difficult to make it like that. And also how to chunk the small lesson out of big
It's because
lesson.
those ideas are still in the beginning stages of brainstorming. And I have things like that too. Like I've told you many ideas that are still in the brainstorming stage, right? That I haven't turned into a carousel yet. Because I'm still thinking about it. I'm still working it out in my head. I'm still and those are much usually more complex ideas, right? What I'm saying is
So
maybe
to
we need to
separate
come up.
small idea from big idea, to see where I learned the lesson. I mean, I don't use affirmations anymore. It means that I've probably, at least, I don't do that. Maybe I do something else. But this is why I chose that example, because I don't do it. And my assumption was because you do it because you think it will help you, but you fake it, you force it. What you need to do is to go from denial to see that actually you don't like yourself, or you don't believe in yourself, so you almost hate yourself. Only if you can survive that and accept to have those mixed feelings, you can learn the lesson and actually live your life with whatever you have as your capacities. So where did I learn that? um, I
Give me an
I learned those
example.
lessons. Yeah, with this person was with this professor, or when I saw a friend, how comfortable she was with her body, and how she's actually, I don't know, she's not super, she knows how to compare herself to other people, but how actually she sees herself. This was something like, you can see yourself like realistically and still feel fine about yourself. So this was also 5-second moment, for, as an example, how somebody sees their body and they're fine with that. So many times people that are flexible, I don't know what else can I find.
But that has nothing to do with
I would
affirmation. Even if you didn't do the affirmations, you would
yeah,
still be
yeah, yeah, yeah.
inspired.
Okay, 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 okay. Okay. Um,
When did you realize that affirmation doesn't work?
I mean, to be honest, it was like I was doing that, and at certain point, I got tired, and I was like, "Who am I kidding?" So this was more of a. Um, I mean, I was doing that for quite some time, and at certain point, I was like pissed off because it was too ridiculous to do it, and that's when I stopped. Yeah.
Well, okay. Can you tell me the other ones you had? I feel like we keep trying to take something that isn't flushed out and we're trying to force it. And I think that's where like the frustration is coming. Can you give me the other stuff? Let's see if those other ones are more clear. Just just to see if like just to prove that, like this is
To prove
what's
what?
happening. Just to prove that the reason why
You
this
mean
is
like
so
other?
difficult is because we keep trying to take the most complex topics that hasn't really been brain flushed
Okay.
out yet, and we're trying to flush it out and turn it into this precise 10 slide carousel. And I keep telling you, right?
Okay.
All the carousels that I've made, I knew what I was trying to say inside and out, and I can give you 20 different examples of it. Do you understand? I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
how clearly I knew what I was trying to say, and then I can turn it into a carousel. If not, I'm still at the flushing out stage. Then I need to keep flushing it out, keep flushing it out, keep flushing it out, and that's part of the process of learning. This is the
Okay.
critical thinking place. Like once you've critically thought about it and now you have the answer, then we move into the creating the content part. But I feel like we haven't fully flushed it out, and we keep trying to jump to this, and that's
Okay.
constantly going to be frustrating. Yeah,
Okay. So you want me to give you another
yeah, quickly.
example
Yeah,
that I prepared?
yeah.
Okay. So like 2 minutes
And I'll tell
example.
you
I
if
have
that's
a
it's a good one or not. Yeah.
okay. I have a story. I don't have meat fruit sandwich. Is it okay?
Hmm.
So I don't know what is it about. This is just a lesson learned.
And also,
So mhm.
I'm trying to say this right. Right now, I feel like you keep thinking like, oh, unless we can flush it out and turn it into a carousel, we didn't succeed, right? I'm saying no, we can just flush it
Or
out.
if you
That's
criticize me, or if you this is another thing.
yeah. So maybe you haven't learned the lesson yet. Yelena,
And
even if you don't create a carousel, even if you don't have the lesson, you don't have to have the right answer. It's okay. You're still good enough.
you should say I didn't do the carousel either.
Hmm.
I have 20
But I've
carousels.
said that. I've said that to you. I have. There's a lot of ideas that we flush out that I didn't turn into carousel yet because I haven't. I don't know yet, and that's
Okay.
okay. It's okay to be in a perpetual state of brainstorming. That's it's still helping because we're still practicing critical thinking.
Okay.
Like I learned something new today.
Really?
Hmm. Like the fact that we're saying that I am good enough. Uh, I am
Hmm.
rich enough. I am pretty enough. When you say that, what you're doing is when you say that, that's basically a confirmation that the opposite is true.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like if you really were okay with not being like, I guess what I'm trying to say is that you know when you say I am good enough, then subconsciously, let's say you say I am good enough.
Hmm.
Okay. I'll give you a more concrete example. If you say, I am 6 feet tall, when you're actually not,
Okay.
all you're doing is you're subconsciously telling yourself that, I'm lying. You're subconsciously telling yourself that, I'm uh, I want to be 6 feet tall, but I'm actually 5 foot tall. So
Yeah.
you're sublimit like what you're doing is your conscious is telling you that, I'm not good enough because I keep trying to fake that I'm 6 feet tall when I'm five. I'm faking it. I'm faking it. I'm fake. I'm fake. I'm fake. I'm fake. You're
Mm,
you're confirming that you're fake. What you should be doing is, uh, like, it's okay to be 5 feet tall, rather than saying I'm 6 feet tall, rather than saying I'm pretty enough or I'm a 10 out of 10. What you should be
mm,
doing is like, I'm a 6 and that's good. Do you
yeah.
understand me? If I keep saying that
Yeah.
I'm a 10, I'm a 10, I'm a 10, you keep, what you're doing is you're telling yourself, I'm fake, I'm fake, I'm fake. That's what, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
actually counterintuitive, counterproductive.
Okay. So the story is, but in like 5 minutes. This is it. If you don't wanna watch me sleeping here, so the story is this. I I used to get so angry when things are not fair, and I mean, no matter of the context.
Mm.
So even if it's small, like anger, I would. There is some, I don't know, some prejudice there, or some pride. Yeah, it's pride. I don't know, something like that. So I remember, for example, when I was in high school and we had some really, I don't know, arrogant math professor. So one day he came to the class like 2 minutes earlier. So as we were coming from the break, he was already there, and he opened the book and was like filling names for people that are absent, and people were sitting there. So he didn't want to let them, because there were like 15 of us, like more than 10 people came later. So as he was writing down, he said like stop there, and as he was writing their names down, uh, they would come to sit at their place. But then he would say, "Come back! I didn't tell you to go to your place." So then this person would stand up, come to the I don't know, the in front of the table, and then he would say, "Go to your place," and then this person would go. And I was the last one there in the row. So he wrote my name and he said, "You can go to your place." And I just said, "Are you sure?"
Hmm.
I mean, it kind of um, I don't know. It was something that I couldn't control because I felt too much obedient there. So he got furious. He told me, "Or you can go on the table." So he said he gave me some math. I don't know, some task to do. If I don't do it, it's you get A, B, C, D. Is D the worst?
No, F.
E, F. Okay. So this is one example. But later in life, when I was
So
at
you say that's
some,
not fair. You're saying that's not fair.
yeah, I mean that way that I needed
It's like
to tell him,
injustice.
yes, that injustice,
Mm-hmm.
it's not fair. So I reacted a little bit at that moment, and it backfired me. Okay, so one time I maybe shared this example already. So I was at one educational program. So when we arrived there, they said, "Hey, we had some meeting. We are changing prices for this workshop from now." So we would
Okay. They
visit
said
each
that's
other
not fair. Yeah.
regularly, and
Like
I was
last
like,
minute, they changed the price.
literally,
Yeah.
we sat there. You know, she's
So
opening
you have no
her
choice but to
presentation.
pay the new price because you're already there.
This is it. There wasn't even like, "Hey, I'm so sorry I didn't say this to you. So can we please try to
Mm-hmm.
make something?" No, this is the other thing. She's just announcing, and I was like, "What do you mean? You mean how, I mean, how is this possible?" So, and I was like, "But you are doing the this. This is what I was thinking." So she is doing psychology things as her job, so she needs to know like how communication functions. So
Yeah.
this is not real. And I couldn't sit there because other people as well were shocked, but they were just okay, whatever, fine. And I couldn't help myself but actually ask this person, "Okay, but do you know that you agree this right now?" "Yeah, yeah, we agreed." But are you fine with that? Is that okay with you to change it right now? I just wanted to see if she thought about this or not. I just needed
Mm-hmm.
that confirmation. And she said, "Yeah, yeah, I know." And she said nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I was like, okay, fine. And they gave up. So from that moment, I kind of gave up. I was like, okay, it is what it is. I mean, I'll just pay whatever because I need this. So there's no other option. And obviously, there is no room for me to change anything. So
Mm-hmm.
to talk about this. So later, when there was some project and I was volunteering. So on that project, we had some prices for the entrance there, and at certain points, we gave we invested a lot of time to make that happen. And at certain point, we got an information like, "Hey, I know you've been volunteering for this to happen, but you will have to pay as well something." So this was this was weird. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's not a lot to pay, but the whole concept, like, I felt like this is not fair. So I've just ignored everything. I've done that project. So then we had some other projects, and I just was like, "No way, no way, I'm out of this." So I didn't react. I just continue to live my life without these things. So my lesson was, if there is no room for conversation, I'm out there. I'm not going to try to, I don't know, pursue somebody to see things. I'm just whatever, and I go.
Okay. And what was the old you? What did you used to believe?
The old me would try to with my family also, I mean, the old me would try to change it, like to fight it.
Yeah. Okay.
How is this
Got it. Got
possible?
it. Got it. Okay. I mean, that's much better. So the lesson that you learn is there's no point fighting it.
Yeah.
Life is not fair. Nobody said life is fair.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one thing that I also see. Like, I think it's with age you learn that when you run a business, so many unfair things are going to happen. We're in the middle of the project. We need to finish this up, and it's the deadline is approaching, and all of a sudden one of my employee quits. The one that was working on that project. Now I'm fucked. Like I need to stay up all night and finish it, or I have to hire somebody else. It's Nobody said life was fair. The
Mm,
only thing you can do is you know you can you can play the like if you play poker and you got shitty hands. Okay, sometimes you get shitty hand. You have to play it to the best as you can. Right? You can't sit there
yeah.
and be like, "Come on, casino, why you give me shitty cards? It's not fair." Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why it's like, see, I can come up with so many examples. Oh, life is not fair. I can't believe I was, I can't believe like, those kids have it so easy. They don't have to worry about money. Blah, blah, blah. Well, what about the kids that were born in North Korea? Life is not fair,
Yeah.
right? You just gotta, you gotta play the hand that you were dealt as the best as you can. There's no point crying about fairness. And I think it's one of the problems that in the world right now is people are crying about injustice. This is not fair. This is not fair. This is not fair. This is not fair. Nobody said life is fair. You know why was a gazelle born a gazelle and not a lion so that lion can kill a gazelle and eat it? It's not fair. It's called life. There's no point crying about it. It's not. You can spend the rest of your life crying about it, or you can spend the rest of your life living living like living the best life with what you got.
Mm,
But
yeah.
just crying about it is a waste of your time.
I
But you
like
see how
that.
I came up with so many examples? So many, like, I gave the example of the lion, keeping in North Korea. What if you got dealt this poker hand? Like, so many things. Yeah. It's not, okay. Oh, like, um, like, oh, I can't believe the government is doing, oh, I can't believe this president is doing, we can sit here and complain about it. But what are you going to do? What can you do? Right? There's no point dwelling. Just, you know, yes, it's not
Mm,
fair. And okay, now that I know that it's not fair, what are my options and what can I do? Like, there's no point
mm,
complaining and crying about things that are not in your control. Just focus on what you can control, right?
yeah. Okay.
What about the kid that was born, you know, blind? It's not fair. Well, what's the point of that kid crying about it all day, right? Yeah, life is not fair. Get used to it.
Mm,
So that's a really good myth. Actually, I can't believe I haven't done. I can't believe I haven't done that in the carousel because that's something that I always say to people. Like, don't focus on things that are out of your control. There's no point crying over spilled milk.
mm-hmm.
Like, okay, now that happened, what are you gonna do about it now? You know, don't waste 1 second crying about what happened.
Okay.
You see?
I see. So then,
I feel like if you come to me with a lesson that's very, very obvious and clear, I can give you so many examples of it. And maybe this is the one we can work on next week. Like just focusing on what you can control and not worrying about things that are out of your control. Um,
mhm,
if you give me a lesson that is so clear, I can come up with so many examples for it. And we can try to turn it into a mystery sandwich. But if you come to me with a lesson that I don't even know yet, because I haven't learned it yet, so
okay.
maybe that's the thing, right? So what's going on here? So you learn this lesson, and you learn this lesson. You both of the are lessons that you learned, but both of them you weren't. So this even the second one you weren't able to turn it into a mystery sandwich. But I was able to immediately come up with the universal truth examples immediately and turn it into a mystery sandwich,
Mhm.
right? So why is that? It's because one is something I don't know. I guess one is something I've experienced so many times that I know the lesson inside and out, so I can come up with examples. The other one, not yet. But I'm sure if I think about it long enough and I live my life, if I live long enough, I can probably come up with that.
Mhm.
But next week, what we'll do is we'll talk about how did I go from the story that you told me? How did I connect the dot from the story that you told me to are you going to complain about a poker hand if you get if you get a bad hand? Are you going to complain about that? No, right?
Okay.
How did I make that connection? Is that I guess this is
I
the question,
mean, yeah.
or have you
Okay.
thought about that?
I mean, I cannot talk about anything anymore. Just for the record, for today, I'm done. It's midnight here
Can you
almost.
save that one for next week so we can
To save this, I mean, I wrote
the
down
unjust
everything.
the not fair one?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I guess that, it's for me, it's the hardest to find out what lesson I learned. Or I don't know if it will be easier to find trauma lessons and then to start from trauma lessons and then to see how it developed. I don't know. Maybe that's easier because otherwise I think
So
I
I
have
mean, the
few lessons.
lesson you told me just now is that before you used to like argue with them and try to like tell them
Yeah.
it's not fair, but like and now you're just like, oh, whatever. Like now it's like there's nothing I can do about it. Just move on. That's the
Yeah.
lesson you learn, right? So to me that sounds like before you were trying to control something you that was out of your control,
Mhm.
and now you just focus on what you can control and you ignore what you can't control. So
Yeah.
that sounds like that's the lesson that you learned.
I see. I see. Okay, we can continue this next time.
Okay, remind me. That's a good
Okay.
one. So we'll do that.
I
Turn that
will.
into a carousel.
I will.
Okay, you look tired, so go to sleep.
Yeah.
Thank you, Yelena. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll see you
Thank
all
you
next
so much.
week.
See
Bye.
you. Bye.
Cheers.